just going to start a thing I promised some people I'd do. This is going to be a series where we're going to cover 5 to 10 plants in each episode, this being episode 1. I want to cover a couple of thoughts. As I find a plant, I'm going to discuss with you, is it edible, medicinal, useful for other things, or yeah, we probably really don't want to mess with this one. And as I do the videos, I'm going to also include some tips, bonus tips on what my thoughts are after 50 plus years of doing this stuff. So I'm going to turn off this camera facing at me and we're going to go look at some stuff. I got not mowed grass yet. That's on my agenda, but I got company right now. Now these plants, if you look at them, look at the top. This is useful for identifying them in the off season when they're not growing. They kind of make you think of the old saguaro cactus. At least that's what they make me think of. You'll see the large leaves on them. I'm going to walk close and we'll discuss it. Okay, we can see the intermittent yellow flowers on this flower stalk. This stalk can be later dried, soak some kind of oil in it. You can take the stem all the way down and you can make a pretty decent torch. The leaves are soft and fuzzy. Some people refer to it as cowboy toilet paper. One of the leaves here just fell. If you look at it, it kind of has a somewhat resemblance to an ear. Like somebody's been boxing, got that cauliflower ear. If you look at the shape of the leaves, you'll see all the texture. They're soft and spongy. The fuzz on the outside, you can see all those veiny looking things. They kind of resemble a lung. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a thing called the Doctrine of Signatures. That was a thing that happened a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. And they would say that plants would resemble the thing that you would use to treat them for. These look and resemble lungs, so the leaves of these were thought to treat the lungs. And what do we use it for? We can roll these and smoke them, we can make a tea out of them. We use the leaves of this mullein, this is a giant mullein, to treat issues with lungs. Congestion, flu, buildup of things, asthma, and all that. These flowers that kind of resemble an ear are used with treating in oil and stuff to treat ear problems. So Doctrine of Signatures is called into use with this mullein. Now, mullein, by the way, is a biennial. It lives for 2 years. The first year it grows a grows a rosette close to the ground, and then it builds up enough energy that on the second year it can do this flowering. Now, me being 6 foot tall, I put my hand, that's about 8 foot tall. Okay, this is giant mullein. I've got these. Got another one over here. If you look down here, there's a small one, a couple small ones. These are first year mulleins. Down there you can really see the veins and the fuzziness. So, first year mullein, second year mullein. This is an edible plant, but we don't really eat it. But consider this as a medicinal plant with other uses. We don't call it cowboy toilet paper for nothing, and I told you about the fact you can make torches from it. There are other uses for it too. We're not going to get into those right now. Here's a plant that has some caveats to it. You'll find some big stand here because this is one of my things I'm growing. This is pokeweed. Now, poke is a toxic plant. You definitely don't want to eat the roots. And to use the leaves as an edible, which I would do, they have 2 different kind of toxins. One is dissipated and destroyed with heat, another one with water. So we're going to boil this, pour it off, boil it, pour it off, and then cook it. And then these make really good things to eat, like spinach. There's these berries. They'll start out kind of greenish, like this. They have a lot of the oxalic acid. We don't really want to eat the green berries. But when they're in this state, like this, I can put it in my mouth. I'll do this on camera. But these are very medicinal if you know how to use them. And I'll discuss some of that. I'm going to do a video on using poke for medicine. But for food, it has that potential. For the berries being medicinal when they're ripe, fully ripe, and we'll cover that in another thing. But bear in mind that this is a plant that is not considered safe to eat without the precautions of how to do it. So learn to identify it, because it has some good uses in a survival situation. Use it for a medicine. You can use the berries to make dye. You can use them to make ink. You can use them for a lot of purposes. So medicine, other purposes, and food. We're going to look at this is a tree. So, see the leaves here? These look like a long lancet-shaped leaf, but this tree will have 4 different types of leaves on it. Okay? So here's another one. This is all tree. When you find them, you tend to find them in groups. This sort of looks like a mitten down here. See? But for the left hand. Here's one's got 3. That would be a really strange mitten, wouldn't it? But we will also find right-handed mittens. Right now I'm seeing all left on here. Here we go. Well, see, we can have right-handed mitten, left-handed mitten, just a straight lancet leaf, and then we have the 3 here. Okay, this is a sassafras tree. Look at this, how green the bark is there. As we go up, we find green. So in the off season, when there aren't leaves, we can identify it by that green on the bark. It has several uses. The leaves, when they start turning red towards the fall, and they get beautiful reds, these things get dried, ground up, and they're used to add to foods to make it thicker and for flavoring. If you're familiar with the Cajun dish gumbo, and you've heard of Feely gumbo, these leaves, when they are ready to be harvested, dried, and then ground up, that powder is spread on top of it and stirred in to add flavor and make it thicker. That's Feely. Feely. So the roots can be used to make a tea, and the leaves can be used as a flavoring and to enhance your food. And there are some uses for the wood just as well. So, sassafras. Now, I don't have a problem with poison ivy, but I do want to show you this. I want to discuss how to identify poison ivy. I want you to notice that we have 3 leaves, 2 virtually touching, okay, and a long stem coming out for the central leaf. The leaves are also quite usually shiny. They don't look textured. They won't always have the jagged edges, like, look at that, you don't really see it, whereas here you'll see them. Let's look at a couple other poison ivies. See, here's poison ivy. Now here we see more leaves than just the 3, so we know it's not poison ivy. The old saying, leaves at 3, leave it be. And we can see lots of poison ivy down here. I'm trying to behave for the camera, okay? But I don't want you to do this, okay? I know that I can do it. But leaves of 3, leave it be. That doesn't always hold true, okay? But use that to help save yourself problems. Beyond that, we'll discuss other leaves. Okay, so I'm going to film some of the stuff we had talked about doing. Bugs. And I'm in a place where I'm really not familiar with what I'm going to find here. So let's see what I can find to quickly show you how to identify it. So turn around and we'll start looking, shall we? I've lost this earlier, so we're going to refilm this. See this cluster of berries? It's a stipe. They're red, they might be yellow in certain varieties. There's no fuzz on the stem. This is a sumac. If it had fuzz on the stem, we'd be dealing with a staghorn. This is smooth. If there were pointy ridges, it'd be a winged sumac. We've had too much rain lately for this to be harvestable to make sumac-ade. This has edible uses from that. And you can do a lot with it. We'll cover that. There's a lot of dyes and everything. There are a ton of uses for the sumac. Now, if you see the stipe like this, it is not. This is not going to be poison sumac. Poison sumac will have little berries that come down here, the junction on the leaflets. And they'll be white. They won't be clustered like that. So if you see this type of arrangement, you know it's not poison sumac. Also, I'm not standing ankle deep in water. I've been trying to find poison sumac for a long time. I don't have a problem with poison ivy. I would like to see how I fare with that. But sumac. Okay, time for the bonus tip for this particular series that we're putting out. This is, of course, the first one. And this is going to be one that was also kind of mentioned a little bit by somebody else. What if you get lost in the woods and you don't have a compass? Is there a way that you can find to go and not keep running in circles? That you could pick a compass direction and at least bearing, going north constantly or east constantly or whatever. But you don't have a compass. That's what we're going to discuss now. How to tell which way we're wanting to go, be it north, south, east, or west. And how do I know which one is where? Well, let's discuss that now. So here we are, and we're trying to figure out which way we're going. Now, if I look down here at my watch, I can see that we're approaching 2 p.m. So it's afternoon. We know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So if this, let's say that's east, we know the sun's going to rise over there. If it's in the afternoon and the sun's setting towards the west, then the sun would be over that way. And if that's east, north is that way. And if that's east, south is that way. So how would we know? Well, I know it's afternoon, so I know the sun is going to go from west to, or is going to be traveling, and it's in the west side, which means shadows are going to be falling towards the east. So here I can find a little bit of light through the leaves, and by doing that I can block the light with my hand. We can see that the back of my hand is lighted, can't we? Things beyond it aren't. There's a shadow of my hand down there. So that means that the back of my hand, with that light on it, is facing west. That means if west is that way and east is there, that means if I want to go north, I'm going that way. If I want to go south, I'm going that way. So by taking a moment, and if we know roughly the time of day, noon was overhead, and so I waited today for this as an easier demonstration, that the sun was in the afternoon position, going from west, my shadows would be facing east. So, I can make my decision now. If I want to continue going east, I'm going to head that way, and every so often I'll stop when I find some light coming through and look, put my hand in the light, and I know that the part that's lit is facing to the west now. If it was early morning, the lit part of my hand would be facing east. But right now, the light on it falls on the west facing side. So I know the west is behind me. So hopefully that's a good little tip to help you find your way in the woods. Especially if you're one of those people who wants to look for moss on the tree thinking that's on the north side only, which it's not. And if we look through there, I can see some shield type lichen, which some people would think is moss, and that's actually on the south side of the tree. See it there? Yeah, that's on the south side. Not. So it's a fairly easy way to find our compass direction, at least, in general. Because right now it's afternoon and I know that my hand with the light is facing west. Okay, Rich here. See you guys next. We're going to do the next one, which will be a few more plants that we'll discuss, and we'll throw in another bonus tip. I've got a few decades of practice with this, so I should have plenty of things I can share with you. Bye guys.